Social Security benefit cuts caused this. There's no other way. Even Pablo recognizes that. By the way, Pablo just fell into the pool. He'd never been in the pool, ever. I mean, he's been up to his knees, but never been swimming. I was about ready to go jump in there and save this guy, but he swam like Michael Phelps, didn't you? He was like swimming like a friggin' champ. Is that damn Pablo? So we'll see if he's afraid of the pool anymore. But look at old sad, wet Pablo just fell in. What happened? Did Finney push you over? Of course, Finney was barking at him the whole time, like, get out of there, Pablo. Finney thinks the pool is dangerous. Finney's like, get out of there. All right. So I always love to look at this Income to Aged chart book from 2014, because what we see here is we see that all the people over 65, 50% of the people over 65, 51.8 to be exact, a majority of the people over 65 received a majority of their income from Social Security. 51.8% of all people over 65 received a majority of their income from Social Security. 47% of men and 55% of women. Even worse is that a quarter of all people over 65, according to Social Security, that financial planners have been saying for years, received over 90% of their income from Social Security, according to Social Security. 21% of men, 27% of women. Yikes, that's not good. And then that actually is good, I guess, because we go here, fast facts from Social Security, and we can see, oh man, hold on a second. You can see in 2024, from the fact sheet from Social Security, only 39% of men and 44% of women received 50% of their income from Social Security. A significant decline from what it used to be. Look at that. It used to be 47% of men and 55% of women, and now it's only 39% of men and 44% of women. It gets even worse. Obviously, Social Security is cutting benefits. Now only 12% of men and 15% of women received over 90% of their income from Social Security, which has dropped from 21 and 27. What the heck? It must have been Social Security benefit cuts. Of course it was not, my friends. It's silly. It's silly. I mean, come on. At the end of the day, they weren't calculating it correctly. In fact, the funny thing is, if we actually, and they see this where you can click on this link where it shows you what the hell they were doing wrong. But it's even worse, dude. You're like, how did no one pick this up? If you go to shares of aggregate income, remember, a majority of the recipients receiving a majority of their income from Social Security. If you go to shares of aggregate income, the total income for people over 65, only a third came from Social Security. And a third came from earnings, and only 9.7% came from asset income. So you'd have to sit there and say, that doesn't make any sense. If a majority of the people receive a majority of their income from Social Security, and yet Social Security only represents 33% of the aggregate income, something is skewed royally there. And the thing of what would be skewed royally, of course, is that you would say, well, must be the rich people are making so much money, they're skewing the overall aggregate income. Well, maybe, but are they actually earning that much money, the rich people over 65? Wouldn't you think asset income would be what skews it? And it's just not. So that's just stupid. So check this out. It gets even worse. So here's the lowest quintile. For the lowest quintile, that's the lowest 20% of the earners over 65 years old. Their income was comprised of 80% came from Social Security. You're like, what? The lowest quintile, that's 20%. Had 80% of their income came from Social Security. Yet if we go back to, that's so stupid. If we go back here, we say a quarter, the lowest quartile, had over 90% of coming from Social Security. The data was just all over the place. Again, the lowest quintile, 80% of their income came from Social Security. The quintile is the lowest 20%. And yet if we go up here, the lowest quartile, 25%, had 90% of their income came from Social Security. So what could possibly have been the cause for this massive reduction in the income from Social Security relative to the average person? Well, obviously they were screwing up the numbers, and they readily admit it. It's just so embarrassing. I'm like, and yet we have people out there, again, I'm going to hark on these guys, using this as evidence that Social Security, right here, This is what these guys are saying. In the first through fourth quartiles of income for Americans 65 or older, the percentages of income from Social Security were respectively 85% for the lowest quartile, 84% for the second lowest quartile, 57% for the third lowest, or in this case, second highest quartile. And they're using wrong numbers, dude. It's just wrong. They're using old data and this is written in 2025. It's just not right. They're using this because it assumes the narrative. Again, in the first through fourth quartiles of income for Americans, through the first through fourth, well, only four quartiles anyway, of income for Americans older, the percentage of income from Social Security were 85, 84, 57, and 18. It's just not true. It annoys me so much. As we see right here, only 39% of men and 44% of women are receiving 50% or more of their income from Social Security, and only 12% and 15% are respectively receiving more than 90% of their income from Social Security. So for these guys to have to be right, they got the top three or the lowest quartiles receiving more than half their income from Social Security, because they're using flawed data from this thing in 2014. Anyway, just the only thing that could we either have a massive reduction in benefits, which we absolutely don't, or we got a massive wrong analysis of the numbers, which we absolutely do. They wrongly did the numbers, and many fools out there will still use those same numbers because they just are ignorant about the data. And it's just embarrassing, especially when it comes to retirement planning, because they're just there to promote the fear mongering, and I freaking hate it. I hate it with a passion. All right, God bless Smash. We'll see you guys.